Boo bitch. I've literally had about 3 coffees before I left work because I had to hype myself up to talk about this shit. So here I am, proper hyper, about to talk about some scary shit. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Give this video a big thumbs up, especially if you are interested in all of this scary mystery kind of stuff that I've got going on. In my video about past life experiences and near-death experiences, I mentioned about me wanting to do a video based on my experiences with the afterlife. What I want to do is basically do like a 3-part video kind of thing, just talking about some of my family's experiences, what I'm going to be doing today, and then some of my own experiences, which are quite a lot. So I think I might have to split that into 2 different videos just so they're not very long. Today I am going to be discussing my family's sort of experiences with the afterlife. And as I've said, if you don't believe in that kind of stuff, if you don't believe in ghosts and stuff like that, completely fine. Everyone has their own opinion, but I really do believe in stuff like that. I'm going to be obviously talking about ghostly activities, but also there is going to be a short discussion about suicide, because that is actually included in what I'm about to describe. So obviously the events that I'm now about to describe have been told to me by family members, by my dad, by my nan, and people like that who were obviously in the home that this happened in. I strongly believe everything they say, because every single time I ask them things, it's always the same fit from each and every one of them. Because of the way it kind of affected my nan after, and still to this day, it really makes me believe 100% more all about this stuff. Going back years and years ago, I think my dad was about 13 years old, back in like the early 1980s basically. If anyone knows anything about any scary stories, the main subject is always going to be the classic Ouija board. So obviously anyone that is out there that has no idea what a Ouija board is, it is basically a board filled with letters, and you have this like little key that kind of like gets moved around to spell out words, and you also have like a yes and a no. I would never fucking do one, even if someone paid me. Like, are you stupid? Like, don't do one, guys, please. Just please, even if you don't believe in this stuff, just really think about what the fuck you're doing. Ouija board essentially is a way for people who are still alive to contact with people who have passed away, and sometimes when people are contacting people, it's not always a good spirit, to say the least. That is where our story is going to start. So my nan and a few of her friends were having a few drinks, and they thought it would be funny to do a Ouija board. So they done the usual, they said hello. According to my nan, the dice, not the dice, like the little pointer thing, started to move around the board. Girls being girls, they automatically thought, that this was someone else doing it in the room. They didn't really think anything of it, because my nan said at the time she didn't believe in anything like that. When they left the whole situation, they didn't actually say goodbye to the Ouija board, and this is one of the key fucking points. If you're going to do a Ouija board, say bye at the end of it. Say bye, because basically what this does is this like closes a portal, to say the least, stopping the spirit coming through to our dimension kind of thing, and allowing them to do things and cause havoc basically. Or some of them are nice and they just want to chill. With you. But this ghost was like, fuck you, I'm fucking shit up. And trust me, it fucked a lot of shit up. Instantly things started to happen once my nan got home. Obviously she had my dad my auntie and also uncle at home. The bog standard things started to happen, things such as weird noises, people hearing things, walking up and down the corridor but everyone was in bed kind of thing. And then all of a sudden things started to get very strange. A number of times my nan said that she heard the TV going static. So she'd walk in and the TV would just be all static on the screen and there wasn't actually anyone else in the house. So she was just kind of like, okay, maybe it's the electrical stuff, and she didn't really connect the dots at that point. A few more things started to happen. Picture frames started to smash in the middle of the night, just fell off the wall. Pipes started to burst in my nan's house, and my dad said that people came around basically and checked the pipes and there was nothing wrong with the pipes. It was like the pipes had burst and then basically sealed themselves back together again, which is crazy. Like, it's fucking crazy. Next thing that I'm going to describe, when my dad first told me, I did not fucking believe him because sometimes he comes out with random shit, but my nan backed it up. So basically one day my dad doesn't recall anything that happened in the night. He said he just woke up, his legs were sitting on like the edge of the bed, like his feet were on the edge of the bed, but his body and his head and everything else was on the floor. So basically he had been essentially dragged out of his bed, and all the duvet covers and everything like that moved around as if he had been pulled out. Obviously this scared the shit out of my dad, and he, started to say about, what the fuck is basically going on in this house. I know what some people may say. They may say, well, he could have just fell out the bed. Yeah, but listen to this. My dad's hand was actually frozen in this position, and when he woke up he couldn't get it out, like someone had grabbed him like that. And that is the thing that really solidified the scariness in him, and that he was certain that something else was going on. I'm now going to describe something that always scares the shit out of me, because it is something that still, my nan gets a bit upset about now, which is, understandable. There are many things that I still don't know about this story, because I think my nan really just doesn't want to share it with people. So there is probably a lot more to this story that I could tell, but obviously I'm going to respect my nan and not ask her any questions about it, because clearly it affected her massively. But basically my dad, my nan, her partner at the time, and obviously the two other, my auntie and uncle, were sitting in the living room. And basically the way the layout of the living room was, it was basically, you had the living room right at the end, and then you could sit on one sofa and see directly straight down to the front door. It was always the fact that basically on this one sofa it would be my nan's partner sit there, because it was the perfect area for the TV, and that was just the way they used to sit. That was their layout. So he was sitting there and they were all watching TV, nothing out of the ordinary, anything like that. And then for some reason he decided to look down the corridor, and at this point everyone noticed that he had frozen and was just staring at this one spot down the corridor. But then this is the craziest thing ever. My dad said that basically whilst they were like saying to him, like saying his name, but he was not looking away from this spot, the next thing that they noticed is he started to turn white, like pale white, like he was about to pass out. He had dark brown hair, and basically it started to turn grey as they were looking at him, like the ends of his hair were turning grey. I'm not making this shit up, this literally happened. Apparently he said nothing, he stood up and he walked straight to the front door and left. And literally it was like 2 years after until anyone ever heard from him again. He went off the radar. My nan was obviously distraught about this and everything else weird that was happening in the house. You can just imagine. Basically, I'm going to skip forward and just explain what happened 2 years after this incident. So obviously, my dad and my uncle saw him in Essex, and that's where they lived. And basically, they saw him in town after 2 years, and they were pissed. Obviously, they were pissed off that this man upped and left my nan for no fucking reason, with no explanation. He saw my dad and my uncle. He was like, you know, glad to see them, but also what he was about to say really scared my dad and also my uncle. But by this time they'd moved out of the house. He basically said to my dad that the reason for him leaving so abruptly was because he saw something. So they're like, what the fuck did you see that, you know, just makes you get up and leave like that? Weird. He said that he was drawn to the front door for some reason, like something was making him want to look at the front door. Saw a ghost. He saw the ghost basically, and he said it was a fat man with a suit and tie on with a top hat. He looked very old and very overweight, and he looked kind of like a gangster, he said. And when this came forward, obviously a lot of things started to make sense because of the violence in the house, everything that was happening. Someone being a gangster, it makes a lot of sense. He said, yeah, so basically after that he knew it was a ghost. He could see straight through this man. He said he instantly fell ill, but he could not take his eyes off him. So that was the fucked up bit. That was the bit that really topped it. We're going to rewind back to just after, obviously, my nan's partner left for no reason, but now we know why. After this, my nan was like, right, something weird is going on. So one of her friends that had basically done the Ouija board with her, you know, kept saying to her, weird shit is happening at my house, and it is because of that Ouija board. But at first my nan didn't really believe it. She thought, don't be stupid, like that shit does not exist. But obviously after everything that had happened, my nan was convinced that whatever they'd done had brought some sort of evil into both of their homes. My nan and her friend kept talking about things that would happen, and this literally sent my nan's friend insane. Like, she would not leave the house at one point. She was doing very odd things. She tried to kill herself a number of times because she couldn't get away from this spirit, but she referred to it as a demon, and it scares the shit out of me that what happened next was a result of this Ouija board. So basically, after all of this, my nan's poor friend had a lot to go through. She started to suffer from mental health illnesses because of this. She was being tormented in her own home, and I believe she lived alone, so you can just imagine what that was like. After failing to try to kill herself a number of times, she successfully did actually kill herself, and my nan has always strongly believed that this is only due to the Ouija board and the whole situation surrounding that, which is absolutely heartbreaking because I can't even imagine what my nan must have felt like losing one of her best friends due to this situation. After this situation, my nan had had enough. She couldn't keep living with all the stuff that was going on in the house. Like I said, I don't know everything because I don't want to pry on her. She did lose her friend over this, and I strongly believe that maybe worse things happened in the house. Basically asked a priest to come to their house, and basically what happened is the priest done his things and he came back to my nan and he said, if I was you, I'd just leave this house. He said, it's ruined basically. Whatever spirit had come into the house was not going to leave. It was never going to leave. It was staying put. No matter what he done, it was very evil, and this priest was scared for my nan and my dad and, you know, the rest of the children in the house. He said, please leave the house. Yeah, that's basically the first part of like my background into the afterlife ghosty experiences. I know it's not me personally, but I just think that that story is absolutely insane, and I cannot believe it actually happened to my family. I, as I've said, have experienced quite a lot of strange things, and there have actually been people with me when I've experienced some of these things, so they can fucking back me up. People at work, my boyfriend, my dad, things that have happened and in this room, and I don't like talking about it because I'm getting scared that I might upset my friend, whoever may be inhabiting this space. Oh god, why am I doing this? Like, why? If you like these videos, if you're enjoying this kind of shit, carry on watching, subscribe, and I will definitely be back next week with another video.